All right, we are live with the count. Whoa, got the countdown going and everything here.
Woo.
So we are back once again. CloudWorld Keynotes Part Two, or do, or I don't know. Anyway, it's the Oracle Apps Keynote beginning in 5 seconds. Why don't we watch together? Would have been so much better if they actually started right. Although I like the music, I'm giving a good grade for the music so far.
I'm
Not
hearing
corny.
I'm hearing no music at all.
Oh, you know what? That's because I had it on mute. I can hear it, but you guys couldn't. Can you hear it now?
Yeah. I'm not even going to try.
That's kind of funny.
Leave it to you, Rebecca. I'm not trying.
All right. Looks like we're getting. Oh, yeah. Whenever you see this, it's go time.
See something. I actually like it without my light on better. I hope he read it.
3 routes have carbon emissions over targets. Please see suggested new rail routes to reduce emissions 14.6%.
And lay off while driving.
Please welcome to the stage, Steve Miranda.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with so much energy from all of our customers and our sponsors and partners. I'm going to go through a lot of content today. I'm going to go through 3 major announcements and applications. And more importantly, we're going to have 3 customer interviews. And what I hope, kind of following on the lead that Safra started yesterday, that you'll take away is a theme of how you can achieve lasting success, and in this case, lasting success with Fusion applications.
It said news and applications.
I know.
Now, before I get started, I think it's important to start with some level of context. When I had this discussion or gave this presentation 4 or 5 years ago, or even further back when we introduced Fusion applications, what we talked about was that in SaaS applications and in Fusion, what we really needed to provide our customers is the ability to adapt quickly to change, so that their infrastructure wouldn't be an impediment, but actually would be an asset to them, so they can react to this change. And if you go back several years ago, there was a lot of talk about disruption. If you remember 2018, 2017, people were worried about Amazon, people were worried about Uber, people were worried about, well, or I want to become the next Amazon, I want to become the next Uber. People being disintermediated, they either wanted to defend or they wanted to change.
That transcription is.
And we built applications to help with that.
Part of the.
But then 2020 came along and the world stopped. And all of a sudden the conversation talked about we had to adjust to working from home. We had to deal with our customers digitally. We had to have a whole different supply chain or outlook on supply chain and deal with supply chain disruptions. And again, all of you had to have your businesses react to that very, very quickly. And then today, I don't know if you've heard, but we're talking about AI a lot. We're talking about generative AI. Now, 6 months ago, probably wouldn't have talked about generative AI. Last year, I didn't talk about generative AI. Certainly in 2018, I wasn't talking about generative AI. But the common thread and the common
That's all right. In
theme
1971, I wasn't talking about CRM.
In 2020,
I was barely talking.
The only thing that we have for certain is the speed of change is only increasing. And by Oracle providing Fusion applications with quarterly releases, with hundreds of new features for those quarterly releases, it is our job to partner with you to enable you to best adapt to that change whatever that change will be.
I don't know.
So
I
next year there'll be something else we're dealing with. The following year
recoil
something else.
slightly when I hear somebody say
Together, Oracle,
hundreds
our
of new
customers and our
features with
partners
changes.
are going to achieve lasting
I'm thinking,
success through that. And in the 3 customer
That's
interviews,
way too much.
that's what we're going to be talking about. But there's more than the 3 customers. So at this stage, we have over 14,000 customers on Fusion applications. Some of the largest, most well-respected companies in all industries around the world. In healthcare, you're going to hear a great update from Francis about Providence. But we have many other customers and partners around healthcare. I've been a long-term executive sponsor with the Cleveland Clinic, one of the largest hospitals in the United States. And we just had a meeting. They've gone through their go live, financial, supply chain. They've done acquisitions. They've moved.
Remember last week when we were interviewing Vala and Charlie, wasn't Vala talking about Cleveland Clinic? He was talking about it somewhere.
Somebody mentioned Cleveland Clinic.
Yeah, I wanted to say it was Vala.
You know who it was?
In financial services.
No.
Dr. G
Of
mentioned
financial
Cleveland
services
Clinic.
organizations.
Who was it?
Last year we had
G.
JP Morgan Chase.
Ah, that's right. It was
Talking
Dr.
about
G
HR
was talking about her on
They went
Playaz.
HR,
That's
they
what it was.
implemented learning, they didn't implemented payroll, they implemented recruiting, and now in those
You're an
steering committee
incredible
meetings,
institution.
the
I'll tell
CHRO
you.
of JP Morgan Chase is talking to the team, and it's all about, hey, those 100 new features Oracle delivered, how many have we adopted? And when are we going to adopt the others? And what business value are we driving from those? It's all about driving business value and investments to drive business value.
I agree with him, but
telecommunications.
when are we going to adopt the others? You don't have to adopt all the features.
You're going to hear from KPN and Tatiana later on in the presentation. We have those and professional services. Again, 2 steering committees I sit on, and pleasure to sit on, from First Republic and Arcadis. Again, implemented, multiple phases, go live, successful, and now talking about how do we continue to enable business change, adopting new features, and driving business value. And common in all of these customers, we're now talking about business metrics. What metrics matter to you? Is it cycle time? Is it converting leads? Is it days to close? Is it days sales outstanding? Is it automation of AP? And in every use case, driving business metrics, adopting new features, improvement. I can go on and on. In the gaming and hospitality, we have a great, tremendous partnership with all of our customers. Marriott, same thing, adopting from core HR, adding payroll globally, again, through the ups and downs and changes they've had to go through the pandemic. And now it's all about adopting brand new features and implementing change. In industrial manufacturing, the 3rd customer we'll have up is Kohu. So Kohu will tell you their story in semiconductors and semiconductor equipment and semiconductor equipment testing. Complete end-to-end
That's
suite
like Abbott and Costello joke.
Now talking about how to adopt AI features, and improve their business. And then really a who's who across logistics companies. If you ever had a package delivered to your home, it's very likely coming from a Fusion application. DHL, FedEx, UPS, and many, many more.
What about Amazon?
So that just gives you a little bit of context for our customers. Now, how do we do this and what do we really focus on? And this really hasn't changed. Our continual strategy is we want to provide you everything you need to run your business. Everything you need, whether it's Oracle provided, industry-specific applications, or in fact, partner applications. And I'll cover all 3 in this presentation. We want to drive innovation that matters. Again, going back to those steering committees, we're no longer talking about, well, what do I need to go live? We have many, many, many customers who've done that. It's driving, what is your business problem? What business metrics matter to you? And how can we partner together to take the latest in technology and deliver business success?
Right.
And then our commitment to customers. And I'm going to talk with our individual customer interview to explain what we mean by that. So what do we mean by everything?
Rebecca, did you get your Patrick pick this morning?
Well, it starts from the complete suite of
We'll
applications.
have to, of course, go straight
Fusion
to a full screen on this one.
From our customer experience application, sales, service, marketing, everything you need to touch the customer,
put it on up.
Generate new leads, bring new
customers
to your business.
Once again, come home, mommy. I'm so happy you're coming home soon.
That's the message said. He's very excited.
Yes,
warehouse management,
he knows it.
supply chain, on through to the billing and the financials, core HR, including consolidations and EPM, and then with the backbone of HR, payroll, benefits, complete end-to-end. But in addition to the end-to-end Fusion applications, more and more
I don't think
integration
I've heard.
with
It's
industry
early.
It's
applications.
a little early yet, Michael.
So
We'll see what
we
happens.
talked about last year integration between Cerner, and this year in all the keynotes from HR, CX, supply chain, and financials, we talked about the integration and brand new features we've delivered between Fusion and Cerner. And that'll be a continual theme for all of our industry applications, delivering between what is traditionally a horizontal application set to give you end-to-end business processing. That's the top of the stack. The bottom of the stack is Oracle is the only application vendor that is both in the application business and in the technology business. And you can hear, for those of you who are technical, Clay, McGurk, and Juan Loaiza are on later on today, and they will give you all the latest innovations in technology. For you, the SaaS customer,
I assume he
in your
means
SaaS application,
software and
the good news
hardware.
is you don't need to worry about that. You get it automatically. You get
But
it
I
for
guess he
free.
didn't say hardware because
You
they
get
don't
it included.
make their own
What do I mean by that?
servers or
Every single one of our application customers,
to sell.
except for our US federal, which is a federal regulation, all of our commercial application customers have now migrated 100% to our OCI infrastructure. What does that mean to you? That means you have a brand new data center. You have brand new networking. You have brand new storage. You got a brand new version of the database.
Well, that's
You got a brand new version of the
100%
operating system.
migration?
You got a brand new version of the tools that underlies that.
That's a lot. That's
You get a
can't
faster
get any more than
application.
that.
You get a more secure
Yeah,
application.
Larry talked about
And
that.
what you used to deal with in terms of technical debt, if you run an on-premise application, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You're on the latest and greatest. And so everything, when you hear autonomous database is getting better and faster, when you hear OCI is getting better and
Thank
faster,
you, Alan.
when you hear about, hey, we have security updates at a variety of layers to ensure, that all comes automatically to the SaaS customers. And we built and we engineer it that way. And that's for all of our customers, all of those 14,000 I talked about. Now, we're extending everything you need, and we're extending that leverage of the technology stack into AI
I wonder
and
how much
artificial
of a delay
intelligence.
is on the
Now, a
stream.
couple years ago, I
The
talked about
transcription
Fusion
is coming up
applications,
well
and we had
before he
things
actually
called
talks.
AI apps.
I know.
And in fact, we've been using
It's got to
AI
be.
or
'cause
machine learning in the
I
application
assume
for
it's
several years.
being
We've had
like
applications like IoT and supply chain,
translated,
get supply chain planning, which is effectively an
translated or
AI application
whatever,
in itself. We use
composed.
it for document image
But we
scanning,
just
so
had
we
a
scan
still really
images, we do
impressive.
character
I mean,
recognition, and we use machine learning
I'm
to
not
improve
used
the
to
character
seeing the
recognition.
transcript before the
We have
person
machine learning
actually
on
speaks.
audit capability to detect suspicious
It's much
transactions in
better than
finance
ours
and help them facilitate your audit. But at this conference, we're announcing a brand new set of generative AI capabilities. And Larry talked a lot
That guy
about
looks
how
happy
different
about it.
this is and how differentiated this is. And again, what we're announcing today
Finally.
is not a partnership. It's not a roadmap. It is over 50 new features across the suite available to 100% of our customers
No,
in the modules you already have and you use today, which will be available over the next 2 releases. Let me give you some examples. And when I say across the suite, CX, HCM, financials, and supply chain. In CX, we use generative AI to assist authoring. So whether that's be in service agents to respond to questions from clients, it could be to generate knowledge articles for service. It could be in terms of field service recommendations. We can use it for sales reps to help generate proposals, automatic AI generation, press the button, the AI generates the text on your behalf, human reviewable, and go forward. This is some of the 50 use cases. These are in CX. In ERP, we use what we call a whole host of AI capabilities and generative AI capabilities around summarization. So features we call management reporting and narrative reporting. You can take reports, financial reports, balance sheets, income statements, AP trial balance reports, any report, and you can have Gen AI summarize that report for you. Summarize it in text form. So you have your report that the Fusion applications produce, but now Gen AI can supplement that report with a textual summary, including areas that you should look out for to make your job in terms of reviewing reports, in terms of getting the importance reports, that much easier. In supply chain, we've added generative AI in terms of item descriptions and also in terms of suggestions for supplier negotiations.
that's
So
interesting.
having generative AI take your items, and as you
It
write
actually,
the item
in
description,
a
we'll write
different
that
way,
for you.
it
Or rather,
implies,
the
not
computer will write that for
explicitly
you,
attacks,
taking
but
human
what
labor
Pose
out of the
does.
equation.
because one of Proz's
In
things is
HCM, we've had a number of areas to have Gen AI.
optimal
In recruiting, you could have Gen
suggestion
AI that will
for
have the qualifications.
you know,
So if you have to do a job post,
deals
you
and
want to put, well,
enterprise
what's the job
level,
about, and what is the
enterprise grade,
qualifications?
big
You need 3
scale
years experience, you need a college degree, you need to be able to have certain.
that kind of
Gen
goes
AI
at
can generate
with
that
the
for you.
generative AI. I wonder how Proz is going to do.
Oftentimes we have
what
survey
Proz is gonna
questions
do
in
with
terms
that.
of HCM. You generate surveys going forward.
Again,
So that's a
different area,
sampling
but
of the 50
obviously
use
they have the
cases that are going to
technology
be
to do it.
delivered today over the next 2 releases. 100% of our customers get them automatically through your SaaS updates, included in the products you already own. Now, what I'm most excited about Gen AI is I think this is just the beginning. Today, 80% of our features come from ideas that our customers post to us. And what I see happening already is now that we've given you a sample in different areas, hey, here's what we can use Gen AI for. Here's what it's good for. Here's how you can use it. What's happening is all of you and all of your constituents back home are sending us ideas. And again, because we have that quarterly release and that speed, we're going to add those ideas to the product.
I thought you said earlier this week it was 80% that they came up with and 20%.
As you give us ideas, we improve
I thought I heard him say it was
that's how we
80%
change and be
Oracle,
dynamic
20%
and enable you
customer
to
now,
not only not
and
be
then they expect it
technically,
to go
but to keep up
reverse.
functionally. So that again,
soon.
no matter what the change brings over the next 2 or 3 years,
what he said.
we're going to work together and bring that to you. Okay, so enough of me talking about that. Let me introduce first, it's my pleasure to introduce Francis Chow. Francis is a Group Vice President of Enterprise Business Applications at Providence.
Hi, Steve. It's good to see you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Francis, maybe you can start off by telling the group, what is Providence, a little bit about your mission, and then your role at Providence.
Sure. And first off, Steve, thank you so much for inviting us to speak today. It's really exciting to be here and to talk about Providence and our journey here. Providence is a Catholic, not-for-profit health organization that health,
not for health, but
truly
profit
believe that
organization.
health is a human right. And we believe that everyone should have the access to healthcare regardless of their ability to pay. In our legacy of 165 years of investing in our communities, we invested $2.1 billion into community benefit programs last year alone. We focused on free and low cost, uncompensated, and subsidized care. In our mission to serve everyone, Providence has grown to a $28 billion organization across 7 states, 51 hospitals, and over 1,000 clinics with 117,000 caregivers.
She said 28 billion?
I've been entrusted to run our enterprise business applications across finance, supply chain, HR, and also workforce management systems. And over the last 4 years, I've led our ERP and HCM cloud transformation with a lot of our business leaders that are here today with me.
That's great. Now, I talked a little bit about the change, and obviously we saw the change that everything stopped in 2020 pandemic. You guys were literally on the front line of that. Can you tell us, in spite of that or included through that, Providence dealt with a lot of stress to the system and, helped us all. Why did you decide to change business processes? What type of changes were you looking to make? What were you hoping to achieve from that? And why did you decide to go forward, even with a lot of other things happening in the world, and obviously more important things going on in terms of what you were trying to do as your caregiving? But what was really the push to change processes, and what were you hoping to gain?
Well, like a lot of healthcare organizations, we grew a lot through mergers and affiliations, and that resulted in disparate processes, disparate technologies. Our technology was outdated, so we had really limited ability to scale quickly, but also take on innovation, right? So when I think about like our manual workflows with limited controls, sometimes no controls at all, it really hindered our productivity, right? So our organization had to take a step back and think about where we wanted to go. We didn't know where we were going to go, but we knew that change was coming, right? And I think that's what I'm most excited about where we are today, is we took on this program. It was 3 years. It was a long program, but pretty quick for what we put together across. We implemented all financials, all supply chain, all HCM, EPM, over 3 years. And where we are today is exciting because when I look at it, our ERP technology is no longer a hindrance to where we're going to go. It's now really an enabler for us to look at our business processes more closely, our practices, our policies, and really focus on that for optimization. So it's pretty exciting for us right now.
So let's rewind history a little bit, because there's some in the audience that are in the same spot as you. There are other in the audience that are maybe even at the beginning, or maybe even deciding, do I want to move to the cloud? So can you take us back to the beginning, and what were some of the things that you looked for, and why did you choose Oracle at the beginning?
I remember this journey when we were looking at our systems and where we wanted to go. And I remember thinking, when I looked at these vendors, knowing that we wanted to innovate and modernize our cloud ERP, I was thinking, which vendor do I want to marry? Because this is a commitment, right? We don't change ERPs often. The reason we looked at Oracle and where Oracle really differentiated itself from other vendors was you guys had beyond just the core functionality. It was the completeness of your solution. So as we look at core ERP functionality, whether it's GL or fixed assets, we wanted a vendor that—
One of the things they've been very smart so far, the entire conference, is completeness, end-to-end,
talent management. So that was
making their case really, really well.
The other thing that really
Well, that's their strength. I mean, that's the thing that they have really over everybody. So
not only were we
good that
looking
they're
at
putting
a
it forward
software
like this.
vendor, we knew that we
I mean, in a more limited way, competitively, SAP has most of that, not all.
So we actually were a part of that OCI
Oracle
Gen
is
2
the
move,
most
and one of the most
Yeah,
impressive stats
and
that
then
we
when you
had
throw in the
is a lot of our
healthcare,
extracts, our processes,
Cerner
reduced
data, I mean, that's such a
processing times by
differentiator.
25% to
Yeah,
70%,
it's huge.
simply this Gen 2 migration.
Yeah, I wish I would have known a little bit about that background. I'm going to go off script for a minute here. Don't panic.
You promised me you wouldn't.
Well, just for context, I think it's important for context. So I wish I knew this 3 years ago. So a few years ago, when they were making the selection process, I flew up. We had a demo day. I entered the demo day. There's a bunch of people in the room, and in the very front row on the right side, I still remember it like it was yesterday, was Frances Chow. And Frances, I gave my pitch, and she grilled me. So it was, yes, it was a little bit like a marriage, a long-term partnership. But boy, so we've gone from that, that intense conversation to the success today. So in that intense conversation, large implementations—
I can tell you, none of
there's
that will
always
be
some
discussed.
challenge, whether it's data from the old systems, whether it's controls,
Pretty much a
whether it's
guarantee.
process change.
It's one of the few things I can say with certainty in life.
A variety of challenges. Can you just describe, what was it like? How did the relationship work between Providence, your partners, and Oracle in the tough times? Not when things are going great, but when, hey, we've got a problem, we got to work that out.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, Steve.
Still won't be what he
Oracle
talked
is
about.
a big company, right? It's extremely difficult to navigate for your customers. And so, yeah, at the beginning, figuring out who we needed to go to for what was challenging. But I know as we got closer to go live and we started facing a lot of our problems, what I really appreciated the most is everyone came together and you could not differentiate who was Oracle or who was our SI from Deloitte or the
CI,
business
a confidential
it was truly an
informant.
army that Oracle brought. I think what was important for me at that moment was everyone was committed to our success. And I'm not sure if we decided to take on this ERP program during an unprecedented pandemic, which really drove our organization to come together and unite. And I appreciated our vendors understanding that. And so our partnership with Oracle was great. Our partnership with Deloitte was great. And everyone worked together that when we got on calls, we didn't even know who was from what organization. So I joke sometimes where a lot of folks say it takes a village to raise a child. I just had a daughter recently. I think it takes a village to go live with an ERP successfully. And so that's what we had.
Great. Okay, so I don't want to miss anything. So you're live full suite: financials, projects, assets, grants, procurement, inventory, core HR, including benefits, payroll, talent management. In that suite, pick some of it or pick all of it. What are some of the benefits you've seen so far?
So I knew you were going to ask me this question, right? And I thought about it a lot. And there are a lot of different operational metrics that we do see that we're trending positively. So I think we talked about it. It's like, what did you trend prior to go live? What do you trend now? And I've had a lot of these conversations. And, we do see improvement when we look at, time to recruit, time to start. But one of the things that we're most focused on is I don't want to compare us to before we went live, because that's too easy, right? Where we came from, it's too easy to look at those metrics. What I think is most exciting now is to look at our metrics now, and as we take on new functions and features, especially with AI and ML, is to start measuring those metrics and seeing whether we optimize our process, change our policies, change our data, and to start measuring those metrics now. So I'm more excited about challenging us to improve upon our baseline now than where we started 3-4 years ago.
Great. And so, again, you were there from the very beginning in the selection process. I talk a lot about the speed of change and speed of innovation. From your perspective, if you can give, I don't know how you score it or how you compare it, for example, like software then versus the software now.
I was so skeptical when we met. You guys kept convincing me supply chain would work for healthcare. So I know it was a challenging conversation, but when we started, I would say that the financial product was really mature. I think HCM was mature. I think supply chain for healthcare, we were really, really nervous. I think we identified over like 60 critical go-live gaps. Through the course of the 3-year implementation, almost every one of those was roadmap. And that was pretty amazing to us. But I will be honest, I am still shocked today on how quickly some of our fixes are coming in, the features, the functions. I never thought today we would actually be at Oracle CloudWorld and taking on AI features as of last week. That is really cool for us. So yes, you have kept your commitment that it was going to work. So,
any advice that you have then for at any stage of the customer, either beginning, middle, coming through, at post go live, advice you have for the audience?
So, yeah, I actually have a lot, but I think the one thing that resonated.
All right, Rebecca, we will see you later.
Enjoy being on Oracle TV.
My leader, the
That's
CIO,
right.
when I first
Everyone,
met him,
you can leave us and
he
go
always
watch
said, "You know
her
what? You're going to fail
on Oracle TV.
Lean into it. And I think that is one of the biggest things that I learned is don't be scared of change. Lean into it. If you're going to fail fast and try again. And I think that was really important. And the last thing I would leave everyone with is, as you're embracing this change, when you're trying to get ready for go live, you're never going to get perfection. There's always going to be issues when you go live. So don't wait for perfection. Just be ready that when you go live, that you're able to support your organization. You're able to listen to the feedback that you get from the organization. You just got to find that right balance of going live with some risk and being prepared to handle that risk. Because otherwise, you're just going to keep pushing that go live. And we were able to do it. And we stabilized. And now it's really, really exciting for us to take on all these functions and features.
Great. Thanks, Fraser.
Thank you so much.
Where did they get Chris from Francis?
I don't know.
So when Frances says she was skeptical at the beginning, trust me, I was there. She was very skeptical at the beginning. But for those of you, I think it's a good representation. I meet with a lot of customers and say, hey, we're just starting, and one day I'm going to be up on stage at CloudWorld. So Frances was one of those. We'll have many more of you next year. Okay, next big announcement, an innovation that matters. Last year, we introduced a new concept.
That is so funny that he even says that, because that means there's innovations that don't matter.
About with industry applications, that we don't want to just stop in what was traditionally in ERP, but we're going to extend to industry applications. Well, in this case, we don't want to just stop in terms of where the Oracle boundary stops, because all of you use the ERP and you make payments, or you receive payments, and you deal with banks, you ship product, and you deal with logistics providers, or 3PLs. And all of those organizations are on the cloud with APIs.
Yeah,
and
I would.
All of you
Amen there.
are on the cloud with Fusion applications. So last year we announced a partnership with JP Chase and with FedEx. And we've delivered that capability to do expense reporting, touchless expense report. In fact, if you see me afterwards, I'll show you the credit card. I don't think it's in the budget to buy everybody a drink, but I'll buy some of you drinks, and I'll show you a real live demo of how it works, integrating directly to payments, a complete touchless expense reporting system. We've got over 50 customers who are now adopting that in early adoption mode. We've completed the work with FedEx. But as I promised last year, we are extending that partnership. And I'm announcing today, we've extended that partnership to now include MasterCard and HSBC. And the MasterCard HSBC partnership will have all the same connections that we had with JP Morgan in terms of payments, in terms of expense reports, and in terms of touchless transactions. But one area that we're very excited about to have MasterCard and HSBC on board is something called a virtual card. So a virtual card, in simplest terms.
Hey, Jeff, good morning, sir.
Essentially, all of us today use our credit card. Very, very seldom are we writing checks. Those of you who are around my age, you're probably used to pay your bills with checks. Pretty much it's gone away. You're using credit card for just about everything. Why do you do that? You do that for convenience, use it for easier reconciliation. Why do your suppliers want that? Or why do you want consumers? They get immediacy of payment going forward. However, in our businesses, using a credit card or a virtual card is very, very seldom used. It's used for expenses, but not really for B2B transactions. So why is that? Well, in business and for B2B, you don't just have a single credit card and a credit limit, you're buying things. You have things that are more associated with a purchase order. So you have approval to buy something from a given supplier, from a given amount, a given time period for a given good or service. And what you need to have then is that definition. And that is essentially what a virtual card is. It's an agreement with a financial services provider to provide you a very specific card for a very specific purchase, very specific supplier.
Again, a microservice.
So it can be approved.
That's what it is.
So what is the problem? Why aren't
Singular
businesses using virtual
process.
cards more? Well, you essentially then have to have this connection to the bank and give up a bunch of information. Well, what are you going to buy? Who are you? What's your credit? What are you going to use it for, et cetera. If only there were a place that had all that information. That's Fusion ERP. So we've got the Fusion ERP information.
By the way,
we know what the purchase order
plug
is
for another
we know your suppliers,
PPN show.
we know your credit limit. We know
Engage with Paul and
we have
Kenny
a
have
direct
as our
connection
guests, not our
to
one we expected, but
HSBC
one
and
equally as
MasterCard, from
interesting
our
and
cloud
good.
to their
Tim
cloud.
Kobe.
So we removed
Tim is
all of
the
friction
CEO and founder of
in
8, which is a
getting
major
virtual
design
card.
firm,
And
and
then by having
the
the virtual
creator
card,
and
you,
the
as a
creator
buyer,
of
get all the
Apple
benefits that you
Retail.
as a consumer get
The guy
for
who
using a
literally
credit card.
created it
Get
for
automated
Steve Jobs.
card payment runs, you have
And
credit
we're going
flows,
to
you
be
have better
talking
fraud
about him and his
protection,
history
you have
on
ability to have
this
financial
coming
rebates
Tuesday
with card companies.
at
If you're the
7
seller,
p.m.
you get,
Eastern
early payment
time.
for straight through processing,
Wednesday,
automatic
I'm sorry. This coming
remittance
Wednesday at 7
reconciliation,
p.m.
and
Eastern
all
time.
of this transactions
Cool.
that are automated today. Or if you're a Fusion customer, you issue a PO to another Fusion customer that then has an AP invoice that goes to a bank and a bank statement, and then it gets shipped through FedEx or through another logistics provider, and you have a tracking number, and then you have a bunch of people that do that reconciliation. All of that end-to-end through integration and automation as part of the Oracle B2B network. We announced JP Morgan Chase and FedEx last year. We announced HSBC and MasterCard this year. In between, we've had tax providers, we have other financial service providers, logistics providers, and we're going to continue on this pattern. Because just like in industries, we are an ERP application and a CX application, HCM. We're going to expand that into industries. But also, we live in a cloud ecosystem, and all of those 14,000 customers on the exact same cloud, and they leverage the exact same connection to all of the partners. Full end-to-end automation. Okay, that's the second announcement. Now, it is my great pleasure, the most fun that I have is talking to the customers, so let's go to one more. Let me introduce Craig Halterman. Craig is the CIO of Kohu.
Where's the guy with the British accent?
Yep. We saw this guy.
No, I was like, where's the guy with the British accent that does the voiceovers for the video?
I know. He's probably doing one for America's Got Talent, or Britain's Got Talent.
So Kohu is a manufacturer, or in fact, the world's leading manufacturer in the semiconductor industry.
This guy was the guy who spoke at the CX keynote yesterday.
Right.
The CIO role is what I joined Kohu for in 2016. Now, the role that was 2016 is not what I'm doing now. The digital transformation that we've gone through for the last 3 to 4 years has actually changed what I do in the composition. So when I joined the company, I spent more time dealing with operational issues. I dealt with application support. Now I'm actually a part of the business more. And I actually spend a lot of time trying to work on the strategy and actually aligning to what the business is doing instead of what maybe I would have been doing in 2017 and 18. So Kohu is a global leader in producing high-tech products for the semiconductor manufacturers and also the large companies that consume and use semiconductors. So what that means is that you have to have a product, a physical product. Our products are designed and engineered in the United States, Europe, Asia, and then we actually manufacture our products too. So our production facilities are in the United States, Germany, Japan, Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore. So I think everyone understands that semiconductors are used in many products and many industries. So you think about what the volume is, and in the increase that's happening, the auto industry is now consuming the most semiconductors or chips. And that's being driven by not only the sensors, but the potential to have autonomous vehicles and the IOV, but also the compute. Everything that we've been talking about for the last few days here in Oracle CloudWorld is something that's probably going to consume more chips, whether it's AI or whether it's the fact that wearable technology, medical devices. So we are a highly engineered and highly configured to order for our customers. And what we have to do is focus more on having the products aligned to what our customers' innovations are, so that we have to do that. So instead of spending our time doing Oracle Cloud, we're doing a lot of things to support the old system. So now we've digitally transformed. We are supporting more of our customers.
Well, so you're a manufacturer of high-tech equipment, and your customers are some of those technical companies in the world. So extremely technical company.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to move to the cloud, or what was the driver behind it? And why Oracle in that move?
It's a pretty easy answer now that I'm sitting here in the chair. At that point, it was a matter of we couldn't align our strategy as a business to actually complete and do the things we wanted to do. We had grown through acquisitions. On our acquisitions, our strategy was simple. We integrated. Well, that meant that we changed the sign on the building and changed our business cards. Nobody did anything with all those systems. What that meant was we had 5 and 6 and 7 of everything. We had 5 supply chains. We had different legal structures or a chart of accounts. Everything was complex, and it meant that the local sites, whatever the entity was, whatever the acquisition was going to actually be supporting and sustaining everything in that ecosystem or business functionality. So what we wanted to do was be able to grow, and we couldn't grow through acquisitions. We had to grow through this process of elimination, and we were being impeded on our growth strategy because of that. The second thing we really looked at was we didn't want to go through customizations. We didn't want to go through another on-premise integrations. It was basically impossible for us to do that. So we wanted to replace the DNA of our overall business, and we wanted to do that by eliminating the legacy systems of SAP and Glovia and Syspro. We also wanted to build for the future, that foundation of having the systems be able to be flexible and scale for the next acquisition. So we had to do something to eliminate and put that flexibility and scalability in, and we really wanted to become unified as one code. So that was one of our overall strategies. We wanted to buy into the most comprehensive cloud-based platform that we could actually get, because that technical, stack was going to be important for us as we grow forward. We wanted to have the end-to-end data flow, and Oracle presents that. So
now, when you say end-to-end, it's end-to-end. You start from Fusion CX and sales, service, marketing. You go on through the supply chain, again, a very high-tech manufacturing supply chain, through to financials, HR, end-to-end implementation. What was it like? You heard Frances earlier talking about, when she couldn't tell who was on the call, whether it's the SI, the partner, or development.
They keep saying every time they say SI, they put it as CI.
How did that
confidential informant
implementation come to light?
Yeah, we opted the first round of implementation for us as a big bang. And we did that because we talked ourselves into not doing a big bang at first. And the answer kept coming back to the same message, which was, if we're going to be able to deliver this, and if we're actually going to be able to get out of all these customizations and integrations, if we don't do a big bang, we're going to go build more, and we're going to have to sustain more, and our budget's going to double.
It's fascinating at a certain level about this particular watch party. There's not a ton to say about it.
We offer that.
Yeah.
It's very
define
thematic to everything they're doing
from-
throughout the
we even
entire
take our
conference,
CAD
which
and
is
mechanical
here's
drawings and
end to
mount it
end
to the front side on the
and how it's
PLM,
being
and it
done
goes through the whole
by
supply chain,
Oracle.
ERP, all your
Here's our
counting,
commentary, our customers.
CX, and
It's
all
more
the other
effective,
things
it's more
that support the
efficient,
business.
it's
That
more cost
you know,
effective, it's
was
more efficient, I guess.
probably one of the
Um,
bigger things. We also expanded we
but
had
the
an
theme is,
HCM, but it was a single
I
site,
mean,
and now we're a
smartly,
global
but
HCM solution
repetitively,
throughout the
end to
organization.
end, end to end, end to end.
But
I think
the
that's the
success of the
issue I
project
have is
basically only
after a while,
because
it's just
Oracle
they're
and
taking there's
Inspirage
too many
brought talent
customers to
and
do in
technical
this style,
skills
in this format
to the
for
solution
each of them
and
doing
provided
15
that
minutes
for
or
us. You
10
would have
to
never been
15
able to
minutes
do
of
this
conversation.
by
It
yourself.
just kind of gets a
And
little bit
it
repetitive.
became
Yeah.
a marriage,
Even though the
a
stuff they're
relationship
saying is,
that we
I think
will
there's a
sustain and
better way
continue. So
to format
It is
this.
rather ironic that the fact that you're a very technical company
Can
No,
and
you
you
imagine
have
like this
talent,
sitting
it's
in the
almost hard to get
audience
to kind of self-discipline
and
a little bit
this
more.
kind of
Don't build
nonstop
things. Let's get out of the box.
parade of
Go
customers
forward.
that
Now, across
in
that
the
broad
same format?
portfolio,
You know,
similar to what
nothing
I
is
asked
changing here.
Francis at the beginning, you guys have been on a long
It's,
journey
it's,
with us,
I
been
think
live
that's
for
the
quite
thing
some
that
time.
kind
But
of,
what are the
you know,
changes you've seen in the
thing that
product,
kind of
either at
keeps
purchase
this
time or
really
go
being,
live? Like,
you know,
what's been
really,
important to you as far as the
really
evolution from the
interesting.
product
You know,
perspective and
like
delivery?
add some
I think
different
the strongest
dimensions,
message that I would
something
say or
that
tell
makes this,
anyone here is the
you know,
fact that
and we're talking
when
about
we
this, we're
started
not
in
in the room.
2018, the second
Once again,
half,
we're
and then we
watching
went
virtually,
live
even
in
though we're here.
2020,
And
we went
there's
through some early releases
temptation to
of the
like look
future
at different
product.
things
And there were some
or, you
challenges and
know, see
gaps.
what
The
else is going
gaps were
on.
both also
And
driven
we're not
because
even in
of
the room. I
our
mean,
business
I don't know. It's,
model, but also the fact that there were things on the
I
roadmap
think,
that was working
I don't
and we
know.
just
I
hadn't
think
delivered.
there's
And
still this feeling that
through those
2019
challenges, or maybe those
is
early
not
releases, the way
2023.
I would say it is, it actually strengthened
I'd say if
our
I'm
partnership
looking
because
at this overall,
we
meaning everything we've been doing
learned
so
to
far,
listen to the ideas, the technical
one of
options,
the things
and
that
ultimately the
differentiate,
solutions
look,
to
I mean,
happen.
what they're
And
basically
the
doing
continuation and the maturity of all the
overall is
products
pounding in the
continue
theme.
every 90 days.
We
You're
do
getting
it all.
a upgrade release.
And not only do we do it
Those
all, we've
features and
done it
functions
all,
have now been
meaning we have
deployed.
customers,
We've now
we
taken
have people
advantage
who
of
will
some of the AI
testify
and ML
to the fact that we
capabilities.
are end to end and it
It's
works.
just a matter of
And
strong relationship
all of them as a
to
subtext,
not
we
necessarily
have a
think of
really good
perfection.
relationship to Oracle.
But if I look back, whether I
The
could have
one
integrated,
place where it
built, or
varied and
customized the
actually
solution,
worked
the answer is
really
no.
well
And that's
was
why I'm going to relate
Larry's speech,
all my
which I
answers to the
never in
future
my life
for
thought I would
Oracle
say,
because I'm going to get out of that
which is
business of building, and
the
I just
visionary
want to be an
side of the
integrator.
speech where he was
I
talking
want to
about
get my
how
people
they were
focused on
building
business,
the
not on
stuff related
spending
to
time,
food and to
worrying
first
about the next
responder and
upgrade
health and
or the
so
next
on.
customization that we're going to have.
The way that was
One
presented
less
with
person
the
building the accounting
videos, with
system,
Larry
one more
talking to
building
it, the way he spoke to it, and again, always at his best.
So, been
Well,
like
here's the
three
thing
and a
with
half
that
years
though.
The vision and
business benefits you've seen or business
and that was
benefits
that was a huge differentiator for
There are a
Oracle, and
lot of them.
also a very
I
different
think that
dimension
there are things
than
that
just
hit
this,
you
which is more
immediately is the
mechanics
fact that
here. But
what
Well,
we talk
I
about
guess
in
that's the thing
scalability
with
and
Larry is
functionality is for
it
being
was he was
able to
talking to
acquire
the
the next
audience. He was
company. We've
like
done
John
that
said. It
multiple
wasn't
times
like
since we went
what we're
live.
watching
And
here
each
is
time we've
two
brought
people
in
talking
and
to
been
each
able
other.
to integrate
What
a
we saw
business
yesterday
into
with
a core
Larry, Larry had a
platform
conversation
of
with
all of
like
our
I don't know 10,
transformation
15,000
Oracle
people.
Fusion.
yeah.
He made
That's going to
himself
continue.
sat
We're going to
down,
continue
made
to buy
himself comfortable.
and
He
acquire.
spoke in
And
a
because
way
of
that
that,
he was
we want to
speaking
make
like
sure
it felt
that
like he was
they're
speaking
bringing
to
in, we're going to
individuals,
assimilate
but
them.
he was
If you're
speaking to
a contract fan,
a
maybe it's
room
board.
to
We're going to
tens of
assimilate you
thousands
whether
of
you like
people.
it or not.
It's just a
But it
different
really is about
way. And,
keeping people
we,
focused on their
I don't
core
want to
capabilities
compare
of
what
being
he
a
does
product
to this
company, not
because
being a
he's
back
Larry
office
Ellison.
accounting,
He's kind of
designing software
incomparable
company.
in such a way. What
We now have
I guess
people
the issue with this
out of the
is
hunting and gathering
this
phase.
is
They've
like I
actually
said, this
spent
feels like a
time
2019
doing their
conference
job, doing
keynote.
strategic and
There are
operational
so many things that
decisions,
they could have
not
done
being the hunting and
to
gatherer
point
of
out the
Excel
things that they
files.
wanted to point out, but in a
And those
different
things
way, in a
continue
more
as far as
cinematic
we now
way,
have the
and it's
ability to be
just not coming
flexibility and
across.
scalability if the
I
business
would
is
say the
changing so that
one
we're ready for
exception to
that.
2019 is
no
Redwood.
opportunity for us to
That's the one thing I
really
think is
expand our market
different.
in
Meaning,
for
yeah,
business. We want to retain our
the
customers, so we're going
the
to bring our
use of
customers
redwood
and our
by them has been smart
our
because it's
supply
woven
chain
into the
closer, and we've
fabric
done
of
that too.
everything they're doing,
And then advice you
including just
have,
looking
so,
at the
John,
background.
again,
I mean, I
very
actually
much
oddly, and it goes right to your point.
full suite, big
And
bang,
here, like right here, for
advice for
example,
customers
right?
who are anywhere along that
Oddly,
journey.
it goes to kind of your point, which
I
was
think Frank's has
um,
said it
I
right
found
on a lot
myself,
of things. I think
I
I
have
will
found
only add to
myself
the
during
fact
this,
that, you know,
just sort of
self-awareness, know
looking
what
at the
you are
background,
as a company.
right? So
Do
just
not
because
have
it
a false
was
impression
interesting
that
and it
you're
was
going to be
different
able
and
to do
it was
anything different
Oracle's
than what
kind of
you were in
new
the
look,
past,
and
or
which
know your
again, it's not
data,
even a new look
understand what
anymore.
your
It's just
processes
DNA
are.
and
We had
fabric,
to
which is
use
great.
the
But
system to be a
the
catalyst to
format
actually
of conversation
change
or
and align
of
and do things.
this, to
Work
your
to the
point,
capabilities and strengths of Oracle
it's
Fusion.
not doesn't
Don't
fulfill
believe that you
the
have to support
requirements of
status quo
2023.
and contain all of your
Yeah.
systems of
And the
past
requirements.
product of
I mean,
records or
people's
whatever you
attention
might want to
spans
call
are
them.
just not
Move it
nearly what they
forward.
used to be.
Look for the future into
And
success.
this,
Great, Craig, thank you very much.
I mean, I think all the cases are interesting to a certain, but it's just the way that they're being told, the way that they're being delivered to us.
Craig just kept on
We
the
need
theme of moving forward.
a
And again, steal from
2023
Sabbath's
and beyond
presentation,
upgrade in that.
leadership,
And
risk
that's
taking.
Think about, he just
being
said,
courageous
again,
and
to
going
steal
forward. I
from
think,
Safra's
Craig's a perfect
presentation.
example of that.
That's
I kinda
twice
laughed.
he's
When he
talked about to
acquisitions, I
go
can just
for,
imagine
but that's kind of
building
the
code
point
when they're
of what
talking
he
about
shouldn't
acquiring
be
a
doing,
product,
right?
trying to figure out, well, should we acquire
Safra
this company?
gave
I wonder
her,
how they
she
do their
was
financials. I
good.
wonder
She
how
was
their
great,
supply chain.
actually. She did
Yeah.
They don't do that. They
fantastically good
acquire
interviews.
best-in-class
They
product
each made a
companies,
separate
and they
point,
use Fusion
but that's
applications
the
to bring
theme
those
setter.
together.
You don't need to
So let me give you my
repeat
last
what
announcement. So we're
Safra
proud to announce
did
another
in
new
other
set of features. And again,
Well,
continuing
other
the theme,
parts of
we
this.
have a
and
brand
even
new
with
Fusion
hers, it
Data
was,
Intelligence
I thought it
Platform.
was really
Now,
good
what is the Fusion
the
Data
first couple of
Intelligence
customers,
Platform?
but after a
We've had for
while,
quite
it
some
just,
time
it's, you know,
Fusion
it's
Analytic
feeling
Warehouse, an
2019.
I'll
end-to-end
give
data
her
warehouse
the
that
first,
would automatically integrate with
up
Fusion
to the
from
first
HCM,
solar, which was the
finance,
last one,
supply
right?
chain,
I
CS
thought it was very
applications.
good. I'd say,
So by
but first
integrate,
solar
I
was
mean
just over.
I was
extract
probably
data,
starting to
giving
fade
you
after the third
real-time
one
dashboards,
All right,
because
I
they
was good
were,
with the
they were,
four.
flexible
yeah,
report
they were,
building,
they
and
were
a kind
good,
of a
but once
classic or a
again,
traditional data warehouse and reporting
it's like the
style
first one was
fashion.
really good. The second one was
Now
good.
we've
The third one
taken
was,
the analytic
and it
warehouse
wasn't anything to do
and
with
we've
them. It
added
was
on
just,
top of that. And we've
it was
expanded
the
it with
same setup.
AI and
That's,
ML
I guess that's
capabilities
I
my,
think it's
to
partly
not only
because
make it a reporting
I'm
warehouse,
guessing this was a
but to
conscious
help
decision
drive
too,
actions,
to
actions and
pound the
recommendations.
theme in
So you have your data
that
from Fusion applications.
you have to be willing to
integrated
spend
to a
less.
data warehouse.
What
Out of
we're
the box
doing, it
dashboards,
makes it
but now with
easier,
AI and
cheaper, blah, blah,
ML,
blah, blah, blah. We're end
recommendations
to
and
end.
actions for you to
No one
take,
else
whether
is
that
end
be
to
in
end.
CX,
And that theme is
supply chain,
repeated over
HCM,
and over and over
finance.
oh,
and over
I,
again.
And
that's
because
cool.
Probably
it's not a
overly
standalone data
repeated.
warehouse, but
Well, I
integrated,
don't even know if it's
allowing you
overly
to
repeated, but
drive
it's
those
overly
actions
repeated
and
in the
drive and
same
push
way every
transactions
time.
Well,
That's,
into the
honestly, they
transaction
could
system.
overly repeat it even in a new
In
way. It'd still
addition
be
to
but
better.
I
that,
would rather
the
them
top piece of
over
feedback
repeat it
we have
in
from
different
customers that
ways
while
than to
Fusion is a
just do it
large
the
part of their
same way
ecosystem,
over and
the
over.
Cohu
Yeah,
example,
no, I
really
agree.
an
And just make it
end-to-end
worse to me. But
part of their
either, you know,
ecosystem, you have other
just to
applications
pound
as well,
something in that's
whether it's
already been embedded.
demographic data
There's no point
or
in pounding what's
third-party
already
data
been embedded. It's
or other
already
data that you
embedded,
need for your business,
right?
be
You
it
don't
in a
need to
system
pound it.
in-house
And I
or
agree. I mean, coming
externally.
at it a
And
different
it's
way would
important to
be
be able
at
to
least
bring
more
that external
engaging.
data
At the
in
same time,
and model it.
probably not
And
the
with
wisest idea to
Fusion,
keep pounding the
the
same
new
thing over and over.
offering,
Again, that's where
controlling
Larry,
data
again, was
platform, you're
distinguishable,
allowed
not
to
just
not
in
only have that
the
integration with
format,
Fusion,
which
but
was
incorporate third-party
terrific,
data, have the same
but
reports,
the
have the
innovation
same
where we
AI,
really
and
saw
generate
Oracle
actions going
innovating on
forward.
world
And if you think
important
about the
things
three areas that I
in
talked
ways
about
that are
today,
probably only
from
Oracle
B2B
really could do it the way they
and
did
from
it, or the way
FIDM,
they're
the
doing it,
integration of the data
and they mattered.
platform,
So
and
I
extending
thought
to
that
industry
was important. As
applications,
far as
it's
this
all
goes,
about
I love
taking what
Steve
is
to pieces.
traditionally
He's the
a
nicest
flow
man in the
and
world.
really making it
And
an
and to
end-to-end
Oracle's
flow,
credit, they've turned
expanding what you
Fusion
do
from,
today,
look,
providing
well,
more
you
and
didn't
more
say, 10,
capabilities
12 years ago,
that
Fusion was
able
a
to
joke,
enable enable you to
And it wasn't his
automate
fault. It was just
more
it
and
took him
more
10
It was
of
years
your
to
business
produce it.
functions.
all the years
Now,
that
before I introduce our
we
final
kept on
customer, I
hearing
also
about
want
it
to
and
say
not
is
seeing.
we
Exactly.
produce
Now they've turned it
hundreds
into
of
a
new
serious
features
player at
every
every single
quarter.
level,
Yeah,
right?
Every
14,000 customers.
I
Yeah.
gave
Yeah,
you
a
3.
total turnaround, and nobody even
Please
talks about,
attend and listen
other than
to
you and
in
me just now,
financials. They're doing
talks about
great
what
work
happened 10
in
years
terms of
ago,
financial
right?
reporting. A lot
But
more
the thing
details
is,
around B2B transactions.
this is
We've done
just
a
like,
tremendous work in
okay, here's
healthcare,
another
supply
version of
chain,
what
a
we've
lot
just
of
done
enhancements in procurement,
in the
brand
last
new UI
watch party and
procurement,
the one before that,
again,
the
more
last keynote, the
healthcare
one before that,
capabilities
and
and
the one
other
before that.
industry
And by the
capabilities.
way, the ones we
and
haven't done
tremendous
watch
progress
parties for
in
too. Although
manufacturing,
Rob's
including
was a little
process
different.
manufacturing.
Um,
In HCM, last year we announced a host of new
Yeah,
features.
but
This
all right,
year we
so
have HCM Grow,
just
and
comparing
HCM
last week
Celebrate,
to this week
and
from
we
a
continue to drive
presentation
efficiencies in
standpoint,
payroll and
I
automation.
know.
there's
And
something
in
about
CX,
seeing people
end-to-end
walking,
marketing generation
you know,
going forward, and
not
all
on the
those
stage, but
meaning marketing,
amongst the
marketing and
crowd,
sales to generate
and
leads,
you know, there's
and to
different
track those leads
multiple
into actual
camera positions,
sales
and
activity, not
the
just
kind of
tracking
the
marketing
smart
activity,
way to
but
mix in the
end-to-end
demos and the videos.
engineered selling process.
It made it
So I
feel
just
like
touched
things
the
were
surface
moving
of all
at a
those, but
much
you should
faster
really,
pace.
if interested, dive
And I
in,
think
and we have
that's
sessions
what's
for all those.
really
Now,
important in
with
these
that, it's
kind
my
of
pleasure
keynotes
to
now
introduce
is
Tatiana Sumina.
you want to get your
Tatiana is
stuff
the
in, but
Executive
you
Vice
got to keep
President
things
and Program
moving
Director
and keep
of
people's
Oracle Cloud
attention.
at KPN.
But what Salesforce did exceptionally well, they understand the contemporary audiences they're dealing with. They really do. I mean, nobody beats them there. Even you know, honestly, even Zoho doesn't beat them there. I guess the only company I would say that beats Salesforce at fully understanding contemporary audiences is Creatio. They do too.
Thank you.
But
KPN,
when it comes to these
KPN, we'll
events,
get into
you're
a little
right.
bit later
I mean,
as your second go.
you need activity, you need
Fusion
motion, you need
applications.
excitement
But we'll
without
start with
being
KPN. They're the
crazy
largest
about it, which is
telecommunications
why I thought
provider in the
Salesforce
Netherlands.
Dreamforce was the best in
Been
years.
there a couple years,
They
2.5, 3
normally
years
did
now as a program director.
elevate to the
Maybe tell us a little
craziness,
bit
right?
more about KPN
But
and your
that
role.
they didn't.
Yes,
This
so
time they just, to
KPN
your
is
point, they just
telecommunication provider number
understood
one
how
in
to make it
Netherlands.
work,
We
and it worked
serve B2B
both
customers,
visually,
consumers,
worked from a
wholesale markets as well.
in-person
We
standpoint
deliver
and
variety of
a
services.
digital standpoint.
Netherlands is
Yeah, and
relatively
speaking
small
of somebody
country,
who
but it
gets it,
carries the title of
look who
being
it is, the
one of the
Brohammer.
most
Oh, the
connected
Brohammer
countries in the world.
himself.
Yo, what up,
And we
peeps?
have a
Sorry for
dream.
the
We
slight
want to
delay.
make
Couple
it the
tech
most
glitches,
digital
but I'm
country
here.
in the
How we
world.
doing?
Well,
I
we're
transformation
bored.
of
I think
internal
I'm hoping
processes
we're in the
enabled
final
by
stages.
Oracle Cloud, and
Have you
this
been checking things
contributes
out so
to our
far?
digital
Oh
agenda.
yeah.
We really want to
All right,
be
give us some of your
digital
thoughts,
for our
man.
customers, but we need to be digital. at the
Well,
And so,
you know, I
you know,
like
the
these type of
digital
keynotes,
speaks
to be
to,
honest with you,
some of
because
the challenges of
these
this
are
strategy.
candid
Can you give a
conversations
little
with
more
customers that we're
context
hearing
into
here.
what are the business
And I
challenges
think
that KPN
Miranda's done a very
faces,
good
has
job of
faced, and really
having
sort of
frank
drove this
conversations on
move to
stage,
the
which is
cloud and
not
move to
easy.
Oracle?
I talked with him about this
So
before the show,
as
and I think he's done a
technology
pretty good job.
industry, we deal a lot with the future solutions and
Good.
technologies.
All right. All right.
Discuss the
So,
things which will happen in a
like
few
I
years.
said, I'll
Today, it
just
takes
sort of
time to
piggyback.
build
I
all
think
of them.
they
And
have
for
been good. I
sure,
think
we look
after a
ahead,
while,
and at certain stage,
I need a
it
little
becomes
change. I need a
clear
little
that
differentiation
complexity or
in
legacy
delivering the
might
same message.
hold
Just
you in the pace how fast
maybe
you
change
can
it up a
catch up
little
with
bit.
technologies, how
There's so
fast
many
you can
things that
innovate and deliver the services,
potentially
and
are
it might
grabbing my
also
attention
bring
after the
costs
fourth
which can
of
be
these
optimized in the
conversations,
future perspective.
and
It was
we're in the
clear for
50
us that we
minutes
need
of
to
it.
start
I just
changing
need a
to be
little bit
ahead
more
of the curve,
variety in how
and
you
we've been
deliver that
looking
message.
for
That's just
cloud-based
me,
solutions. That's
but
the
it sounds
future.
like you're getting
We've
what
been
you want
looking
out
for
of it.
dynamic
Yeah,
solutions,
and
which
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Brent there.
evolve relatively fast.
Yeah, I
End-to-end
mean,
platform to bring
to
as
me,
much as
like
possible
these are
process into
pretty
one single
unscripted interviews with
experience and
customers.
one
I think it's gold.
transparency.
I think it's
And
absolute
also
gold.
that helped us
I guess
to
from my
support
standpoint, they may be
innovation domain,
unscripted, but
because
they're
we
not
really wanted to make sure that
what's
we
the word?
can grab
The
best
framework
practices from
is
the
there
globe
for
and
them to
bring
be
them into a
positive.
company
Let's just say that.
endeavors.
They're not going to put
So
somebody
it's
on who has
interesting, very similar to what
complaints.
Kohu said.
Oh
just making
no, of
sure
course,
that
but like
as you
some
needed
of the
to
stuff that
change,
Miranda
needed
has
to
said,
innovate,
like
the system's going to be an impediment,
basically
had to
saying
be
like,
an asset for
you
you,
know,
not a block.
what are the challenges you faced
And
on the project, and
why
you know,
Oracle was
basically
part
how
of it.
did
What were the
Oracle like
driving
screw up?
factors that
You don't
had
hear
you
that
choose
stuff on the
Oracle?
keynote
What
stage. I
stood
found
out?
it very refreshing. So
As I
Yeah,
mentioned, cloud
I
for
guess I
us
didn't
is not
find
a
it as
discussion.
refreshing.
It's
Well, we knew
out of
she
the
wasn't going
table.
to get into
It's
anything.
Did you like
defined.
Diet? Did you like
We've been
Coke Zero, Diet
comparing
Coke?
various
Well,
use,
I
and
don't like
our
either of
strategy
them.
was to
So
have as much as
You know what,
possible
though?
end-to-end
I like,
coverage
you
of
know, once again,
our
I don't like going
processes.
back to
Maybe
we're
to give you an
comparing to Larry, but
indication, we
the
brought
thing I like about Larry
2.5
is he
billion
was talking to
events
the audience. He
into
was having a
one
conversation with
platform.
the
That's the
audience. This
resources
is
that we manage
more of a
manually.
one-on-one conversation
And we
for
wanted to make sure
just
that
viewing
this
purposes
can
only.
be
Whereas because it really felt like Larry, I mean, he got comfortable. He was talking directly to the audience. I like that. It kept me a little bit more, I guess, my attention a little longer. These are good. I just
And
need
let's go back
some
even
kind of
before
way
KPN, because I
to
mentioned at the beginning, you've
mix
actually
in
done
some
2
different
implementations
ways
now
of
at 2
getting the
very
message
large
across,
telecommunication
maybe
companies,
different ways of
KPN
hearing
being
the
your second.
customers talk about it
When
than just
we
the kind
started,
of traditional
when maybe we
sit
first
down
met,
format. because
what was your view?
it
What do
still
you think
feels
the
a little
software was then?
2019 to me at this
What's the
point.
software like
And
now?
I
Can
want
you
to
describe
bring
for the audience a little bit
I
the
want
speed of
these
change and
companies to
how's that
bring
important
more of the
to your organization?
possibilities of the
Yes.
technology that we
So
have
I met Horst in
into these
2018 here, and when we
events,
meet with
virtual
Steve,
and
you probably have
otherwise,
trouble.
because there's so many ways that they could
We were
bring this message
preparing for
to
go
us
lives for
than what we've seen like in
template,
years
and
past.
I had in the pocket more than 50
Yeah, I
blocking
think though that
gaps. So
you
it
kind of
means
have
you
to
cannot
take
go
the
live
keynotes as
until
a
you
whole.
find something out.
Like
And we
attendees are
had a
here.
meeting, and I
The
was
attendees
waiting,
are here to
we
learn
will
stuff
figure
for their
out 3 or
projects.
5
They're not
what
just
we
here to
do.
have a good
And he
time.
told,
Right.
no, we
Like
go through all of
they
them
need
to
to
make
bring
sure that
a
they
lot
are
of
progressing
attendees
within
are
the
here on behalf
organization.
of their
That
teams. They
says
need
a
to
lot.
bring
We went
content
like
back
this with
home.
my previous
And if
employer,
you look at it from
and
that
now,
perspective, I think you'll
5
find
years
that there's a
down
lot
the
of
road,
meat on the
we
bones
brought
in this
very big
particular keynote.
suite, very
Now,
complex set of
of
processes
course,
with
the
all the
Ellison
thickest
keynote
integrations. The
had a higher
product have
entertainment value because
changed.
it's Larry friggin'
I think
Ellison,
that it became
you
more
know.
flexible. Now
But
there are some
but
choices in
I know what you're
configurations
saying,
what
but
you
I
can
think too
make.
many vendors
We
err on the
got
side of
more
making
best
the keynotes like
practices, and here
razzle
in some
dazzle, fun and
cases
games,
we
and I just
even
think
learn
that's
from
Yeah,
Oracle.
I don't
I'm not necessarily
I don't think
saying
that's a good
rival
approach.
dazzle or fun and
It's
games,
evolving.
but
So, and that's probably
sitting
my
down
personal
in an
observation. It
audience
changed a lot.
and
It's
hearing
two different
kind of
worlds.
the same
So
format for
50
an hour,
attendees at the
and
initial
you
meeting.
could
And
even
so
some
for
of
those
these
of you in
go
the
hour and a
audience
half.
who haven't
It's a
gone
little
live or
tough,
haven't chosen the keynote,
at least
you,
for
you
me,
don't have to be skeptical of
especially
bringing 50 gaps.
after
We'll
the
still have you on
pandemic.
stage.
Before,
It was
you
a,
did what you did,
another rough meeting.
and
So
then now
50
it
gaps, we went
feels like
from
there's ways
non-live,
to do it
actually gone live in a
differently than
couple very
before.
large
Even though I totally get what you're
multinational
saying,
telcos
and I
around
think
the
maybe that's
world,
why I like
very sophisticated businesses,
the
supply
way
chain.
Salesforce
Now that you're live in
is
supply
using
chain,
Salesforce
finance,
Plus
some of the benefits you
to
start seeing and
distribute
some of the
some of the
benefits you
content
hope to
from
achieve.
these
That's the 50
events in
yeah.
a different
Business
way that
benefits.
you could get to
Yes.
even after you've been.
I would say there
I
is
don't know.
one
I'm sure
benefit
they're
what
going to do
people
some of that for
rarely
this,
recognize, but
but
I
I
like
think
so
to
it's
bring
part
it
of it
first,
too. I think
is
that's
a
part of the
change
experience
of
too.
mindset of
so I
people
think
who
you
are
have
now
to really
dealing
make a
with
distinction
these
between
processes.
what's going
Here, I
on
should
the
compliment
ground
the team which is
and
sitting
what's going
somewhere
on
here.
virtually.
I
Like
think that they
on
removed
the ground,
multiple boxes,
these
so we are not
people
thinking in
are
the
only being
boxes
asked to give
anymore.
an hour of
And
their
I
time for
think
this,
that now
and then they
they
go
are
on
the
their
most
way.
precious
That's really
asset
not bad
to
compared
drive
to the
it
keynotes
further.
of old where you
For
had to sit
sure,
on your
beyond
butt for
this, we
two
Oh
or
have
yeah,
some
three
yeah, yeah.
hours.
automatic
To your
business
point,
amazing
But
benefits.
Brent, to your point,
Simplified
if
IT
you're
landscape,
virtual,
so
if
we
you're not
are
actually in the
retiring
room,
almost 80
then you
applications.
have a different agenda.
IT team
You're not
fighted
you don't want
heavily
to tune
to
in and just
make
watch
the
something like
simplest
this.
possible set
What
of
I tell vendors is
integrations. We are
you
half
got
of
to have
integrations
people live
compared
that
to
are
what we
interacting
started.
with attendees
And
and
in
asking
business,
questions
we
and
have
all that stuff.
much better
So that when I
insight on
see
each
someone
and
say
every
something on screen, I
euro
say,
dollar we
hey,
spent across
how
the
does that
company.
affect this
We have
product? Or
fantastic
I really didn't
transparency
like what
and
they said
digital
about this.
support to
And
our
you got to have
employees, which are our core
that
asset.
interactive
And
experience
we get
built
some
around this.
first
well,
And
benefits
that's
already.
and
We are
from
5
a
months
virtual
after go
perspective, I
live,
totally agree
and
with you.
first
But I think the
financial
answer
things
is not
are
necessarily
becoming visible.
by changing the
So it's interesting. I mean,
format.
you
It's
point out
by
something that I
providing
probably
an
should have included in
interactive
my
experience
opening points,
so that I can
because it
build
really is the
community
key.
while
Why
I'm
is it that we want to
watching,
extend these
to
kind of
your
like what
point,
we're
You have
trying to do
half the
now.
integrations you
to
used to
your
have,
point,
and you have better
I've
visibility of
always,
the
and
data.
I've said this
And
before
that is
publicly,
actually
the
not two
best I've
separate
ever
things.
seen do that's
They go
Creatio.
hand in hand. When you
But
have these
they have an
integrations,
open
it's really
chat window
difficult
at
to
every
get
speech, and when the
inside your data
executives are
because you got
done on
data here, you got
stage,
data there, you bring
right?
it
If you look
together,
at a
it just creates.
typical
You
comment
cut your
window, people
integrations
are
in
looking at
half, you
volume
can
of
put in a whole
comment
business
or chat
flow,
window,
you get
volume
better
of comment.
visibility and better
They say, oh, we
effectiveness.
had 1,000
And there is
comments.
enormous
That's amazing. And
uplifted
then you
data
look at
quality because
995 of them
you
are
forced
basically,
us
hi
to
from
look in what we
Timbuktu,
Yeah,
have
yeah,
hi
in
from
all other
Ypsilanti,
applications.
yeah,
Now the
geography,
data
yeah,
set
yeah,
with
right?
yeah.
this new
Meaning
platform is
useless,
much
really,
better,
other
and
than
we are
doing a
open to
demographic
discuss AI.
analysis
It
of
would be
location,
almost impossible
right?
to do
So,
with the old legacy
but what
applications. We've
Creatio
been on time.
did, and
Yeah.
then the
And
moderator, when
again,
somebody would ask a
you've
legit
been now
question in the
through this
chat,
journey a
would say,
couple time
oh,
from
we have a session
selection,
tomorrow.
you've
Here's
gone
the
through
link,
implementation,
right?
including, as you say, business
Rather than
process
answer the
change
damn
and
question, right?
changing
So
the boxes,
what
if you will, even
Creatio
roles
did
changing
to
and
mitigate all
responsibilities
that
changing.
was when,
Advice you give to the
let's say
customers
it's this environment,
at any
okay?
part of the journey
When
that
Steve
you see.
Miranda's done here, he will, and let's
Two
say,
critical points. The
or
first one,
even the customer
use
potentially, and
technology as
Creatio even had
catalyst for
customers
your
do it. They
transformation.
would get off, and
It's
then they
all
go
about
straight
whether
over
you
to the
transform.
chat
You
window
cannot
and
just
start
make
engaging.
technology a
They had
product and
something
feel
like,
better
I don't
and
know,
feel really
1,500,
good. You
2,000
really need to resync your
comments,
business
and they were
model together
conversational
with
and
this
fully
product. It
engaged.
will
That was a
enable you
virtual
to do
experience
much
second
more
to
in a
none,
different
right?
manner,
Because the
and that's
engagement
where the
level was
value
off the
comes.
chart.
That would be one
Right.
recommendation.
So
And second,
what we're really talking
such
about here
programs
is
never
that
come as
you can't
contractual
just
relationship.
take stuff from
So
on the
it's
ground
partnership.
and
It's
stream
very
it
easy to
and
say,
and
oh, let's
convince
start in
yourself that it's
partnership, but
working,
usually
Right.
because
it
it's not.
starts with
And on that
decent
area
share
we
of
definitely
doubt,
agree.
decent
Like
share of
like
concern,
and like for example, one of the things vendors have to understand is that just because the keynote's going on, you can't, you don't demand people to pay attention the whole time. Let them chat, let them joke, let them ask questions. Start routing them towards the appropriate contact person immediately. Like create an ambient chat experience. And then Paul, to your point, like when the speaker rolls off the stage, give them a chance to interact with the virtual attendee.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Always.
and I was at an amazing show put on by this company called Presence, where they had a premium area for virtual attendees that wanted deep engagement. And when people rolled off the stage, the keynote speakers would start interacting with each other, like including the guest speakers. And they were talking with attendees and having these fantastic discussions. And you were creating a parallel experience that was fantastic. People were getting their questions answered. And for people, for example, who are disabled, who can't travel and stuff, that stuff is gold.
Yes.
Because it approximates some of the in-person experience. Whereas just watching this, you can't get that.
No, and it goes to when both Brent and I get kind of tired of it because it's not virtually valuable in that regard.
Yeah.
We lose. Like the other thing is, you know, it's notable that Oracle, every customer, which rightfully is pounding that theme over and over. We do it end to end, and we have a good partnership with these companies. But we do it end to end. We do it end every customer. We do it end to end. Every single one for every single keynote has been that. Right. In fact, they actually repeated the CX. One of the CX customers was the one, that guy from Kohu, who was on the app side here, right? So they just moved them over to another one. But that, I think when you're pounding the same theme over and over and over and over and over again, and it's already embedded, you're just basically pounding it into where you're starting to bleed. It's been pounded so much.
Well, that's where I disagree a little bit, because I thought this format brought out some really interesting details about each project, and I actually took a lot of notes because they were actually pretty different industries and situations.
Yeah.
And it was actually, I think, a pretty good format. Now, are there better formats? Yeah. Like, for example, I've told vendors that you should do a format where you let customers interview other customers on stage and get the fuck off stage entirely. You know, and that's the kind of thing that that really shakes things up. So I would agree with you that it's a conservative format.
No, so do that. See, that's the thing. That's what that is a great suggestion. I know they probably won't take it because a lot of this is about control and making sure the marketing messages match up to what's being presented, and that might disrupt that. But my goodness, that would be such a welcome. Just do some things differently. That's all.
I've seen it happen, and it's been great.
I understand.
You know, and you know, I've seen it happen at a Domo show where they had 3 customers, and then they had a Domo moderator moderating the panel of customers, and it was
even that.
Like, it was enormously interesting because you're like, what the hell are the customers going to say? Like, this is exciting. But I continue to argue that if you're an attendee here, I think this is, and you're looking for information that will help you on your project, that I think this was a valuable session. I'm not going to back down.
I'm not going to say it's not a valuable session. I'm just saying it could be a lot. You can add value in and still liven it up, make it a little different than what we've been seeing since the beginning of time. There's different ways that you can infuse a new way of getting that same message and getting that same information out.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that most vendors, if you say that, go over the top and do all the wrong things. So that's why I get a little bit wary. Brent, if you're in charge of it, then yes, absolutely. But if the average vendor marketer is in charge of it, what you end up with is like, oh, let's hire a celebrity to come on stage, which is what they do half the time. And the celebrities do these shit interviews that are worthless because they don't understand the technology.
Right.
And, you know, and to be honest with you, I find a lot of the Salesforce stuff that you guys like a little over the top and off-putting. So I think some of it is a matter of style. But I would agree with you that Salesforce does a better job of that than most of the vendors
Now
do.
here, look at this.
Oh, you want to?
Okay, let's bring PJ on too to join with us. But take a look at this. One of the things I do think that Oracle's done better is fully integrate Redwood into all their DNA, and that really improves everything they do because it's a cultural shift.
Now, see, this is cool. We get Rebecca. Let's do a watch with Rebecca. Okay.
Oh my!
We get to judge Rebecca's Oracle TV
Play
presentation.
in residence, Rebecca Wetterman.
Hey, Fritz. Thanks for having me, first of all. Great
France.
keynote. I love the customer stories. Love hearing about kind of the ongoing innovation and how customers
Okay,
are
then
taking
after this,
advantage of that
when we do the
innovation
wrap up, we'll
to
bring
get
in
more value.
PJ to help us
Now,
with the wrap up.
Yeah,
Steve talked
I'm
about
not seeing them yet,
achieving
so I'm on the
more with
lookout.
less.
Yeah, we're still doing this.
Terms like
I'll send him
removing
the link.
friction, kind of another way of talking about efficiency and productivity. Why is that so critical to companies across various industries?
Efficient use of resources has never not been a thing,
Of course.
right? But I think now, particularly with the cost of capital going up, folks are having to really take a closer look at the cost.
You can't be
of any
critical of
investments they're
Rebecca.
making.
She's
And I would argue
great.
that efficient use of resources
I'm not gonna
is
say
important,
anything
but
negative.
so is rapid return on those investments so that I can afford to take advantage of whatever.
She's one of us, so
For sure.
she's
Oh,
great.
yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
even know what.
Now,
Oh yeah, she's
AI,
totally
of
handling
course, has
herself
been
well.
the big
But
theme of
you
this
know,
week.
I don't
month,
really enjoy
year.
post
Steve's
keynote
keynote was, of course, no exception
vendor
to that,
produced
with new
stuff.
generative
Like
AI capabilities
I
rolling
just
out
want to just
across
do
our
a
applications layer.
rehash
What are
and
you
move
hearing
on
from
with my day.
business leaders
But if
about
you're gonna
their
have someone
AI
do it,
needs
Rebecca's
and the
about as good as
benefits
you're gonna
that
ever
they're
get.
expecting to come
So.
from that?
And she even dressed for the
Business
occasion.
leaders are looking for
She
not
has
just
the
technology, but
She's wearing
guidance,
Oracle Redwood
help
dress.
with
Oracle
not
Look at
just
that.
Redwood.
Yeah,
enablement,
that
but how to
matches my
communicate
lanyard
to
actually.
partners, employees,
Oh my
and
God.
customers
Thanks
about
for
the
hanging
impact
out, Jeff.
it's going to be on their business.
Bye, Jeff. I'll
Right
see
on.
you in a
Average
couple of weeks.
employee believes that 48% of their coworkers will be replaced in the next 2 years by AI. So both business and technology leaders have to be talking about how do we retrain employees?
Well,
How do we
we'll wait.
position
Once
these
PJ
benefits?
comes
How do
on,
we
we'll
enable
bring
better,
him on and
more
we'll get
productive,
into
more
it.
efficient
Yeah,
employees
get
who
into
can
the wrap
focus
up.
on the parts of their job that they really value. So business leaders are looking for help in communicating and transitioning not just the technology, but the culture and the way
I think
people
they
work.
added makeup to.
Yeah,
To
Oh,
we're
they
hearing
always
that
do.
across
Historical TV.
every company,
Again,
every industry,
my
and
highlight
every
ever of
region as
Oracle
well.
TV was trimming my eyebrows.
We
Man.
also
Yeah, I
announced,
remember. I got a good
also announced
picture of
some
that.
B2B partnerships with MasterCard, HSBC, Avalara,
Were
others.
those the ones who
Where do
did?
you
Were
think
those the
these
hosts that did it?
Yeah, they were the same dude,
provide
people. Yeah.
maybe the most value for customers?
Well, it's all about automation and efficiency,
Yeah.
right? It's
They
about
both had like really
taking those
good
manual
histories,
work
the two of them. I
processes
don't remember
away
what
from
it was
employees
though.
so they can
I knew
focus on higher value
the young
opportunities. But
lady
with MasterCard, it's also
from
really about
I met her at
eliminating
the
fraud, eliminating risk,
NetSuite?
Sweet World
taking
stuff
that
years
technology
before
to
I
be able
saw
to
her.
That's NetSuite.
handle
That's what
those
it was.
manual
Actually.
And she was doing the
Yeah,
same
and
thing
you
at
talk
like
about end-to-end
the
as
Sweet World
well.
events.
So it's not just these
PJ told me
discrete
he thinks she
individual
looks
ones,
like
but kind of
Ivanka
making them
Trump.
all work together.
But if you figure you have a process with a number of different
I'm
steps,
just gonna leave that
every
alone.
step that has a manual touch is a potential point of
Speaking of
error,
PJ, still
or
looking
risk,
out for him.
right? So as you
Yeah, he's
eliminate
got
those,
the
yes, you're
link
making
I
things more
sent him.
efficient.
By
you're
the
reducing
way,
risk.
Absolutely.
don't we
Larry
have to
hit on that
be
a
at
little bit yesterday. In
some
fact, too,
analyst
right?
CX
The more
analyst forum?
humans involved, the more human error,
10:30.
right? So if we can
Maybe we
eliminate
should
some of those
just jump
manual
into this.
processes and we eliminate some of those
Hold on, let
Good
me.
to see.
mistakes that
Good to
inevitably
see
happen.
Rebecca.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had, you mentioned this earlier, 3 incredible
Let me,
customers join
Okay, well,
Steve up on
we're going to
stage
talk about the
here.
customer. So
Kohu,
why don't we
KPN,
just
and Providence
PJ to
kind
get
Capital.
on.
of move
Which
on
of
from
those
this?
stories
Okay.
stood out to you and why?
All right. All right. We kind of did talk a lot about what we thought as it was going on, but anything else, Mr. Brohammer, you want to get into a bit?
Well, I would just say that the thing that I thought was cool about what happened today is it kind of helps to frame how the industry is changing. When I talk with so-called cloud ERP customers these days, and I'm using that term pretty broadly because a lot of vendors don't even use it anymore, what I'm always asking them is, how are these projects helping you to serve your customers better? And it's actually a really, really hard question because these projects were historically very internally focused, but now there's no time for that anymore. Everything has to be framed in a customer context, a stakeholder context, which is why I like you guys, because you're always talking about the customer, and that's the bottom line. And what I thought we saw today, which is important, is there's a lot of business value to be derived from these projects, but you have to work at it. It doesn't just happen, and it continues far after go live, which is why it was great to hear some discussions around metrics and how do you measure the success of these projects. That's so important. And it's especially important that this happened instead of having just a generative AI cheerleading conversation where we know at the moment that there's not a whole lot of generative AI stuff out there. But we did hear a little bit more today about when that stuff's going to be delivered and shipped. And, that stuff we kind of knew, but it was kind of publicly announced today. So that gives customers a sense that all this Gen AI stuff is coming. and then we can talk more about that. But I did like the fact that we're not just losing ourselves in this generative AI flogfest and losing track of the fact that customers need answers now. They have problems now. They have pain points right now, and they can't wait for some hypothetical technology to help them.
I mean, to your point, I mean, I was a little concerned at first. I mean, Steve framed it really well in the beginning, especially. What I initially was a little concerned when I heard, "Hi, we got quarterly releases and it's hundreds of features," and I'm thinking, "Uh-oh." But then he re-emphasized outcomes, metrics, and value, right? And that really is ultimately the net of it all, right? So he set a good framework, although, because, you know, if you're just talking about releasing hundreds of features, that's just overwhelming. And I don't agree with when he said, when you have customers saying, well, we've done this and this and this features, how do we use the rest? That's not, that to me is the opposite of the thinking. It's what do we need? Is not how do we use the rest, is not the way to look at it. But I think actually knowing Steve for all these years, that's what he meant, as opposed to what came out. And so the framework was good. We already discussed, I thought, the limitations of the, let's call it the limitations of the production and the venue. But from a content standpoint, Oracle's theme the whole time goes right to the, I've said this, 20 times already? Safra is, you have to be willing to spend less, right? That's the meme for Twitter, or for X and Threads. But at the same time, it's kind of the theme of the whole conference at every level: efficiency, effectiveness, end to end. We do it all. No, and to the extent that they're talking about it, no one else does. And they kind of can make that claim. Actually, SAP even is more narrowly focused than them, or narrowly capable than them. But at the same time, I think my only issue ultimately is the overemphasis. Beyond that, I thought it was very effective.
Yeah, you can't get away from the Gen AI discussion. It's everywhere. But I like the way that I didn't feel overwhelmed by it, because they had so many other things. The kind of the way they infused it into all the different multiples of applications and having, they had more, kind of contradicting myself a little bit. You hear more from the customer than you have from everywhere else. Like Salesforce had, I think, one customer, but they did the kind of the video, stories, which I like.
Sonoma.
I like that, but but I will say, although I think some of it went a little long here, I think it was really important to hear from the customers at a little bit more length, because you did hear them talk about it in more real world terms. It wasn't pie in the sky Gen AI. Well, I should write that somewhere. Pie in the sky.
Or you just have Gen AI right before it.
Yeah, there you go. But I liked I didn't feel overwhelmed by the Gen AI conversation. There was more going on. They had their customers talking about real world things. And I think the other thing that really came through is just the importance of how they're looking at the healthcare use case, and how they're using that as a way to talk about a number of things, not just Gen AI, but, the whole having everything all under one roof and being able to use, all their technologies to solve this this problem. It's not a use case, it's a real problem. And in doing that, they have a way to actually talk about the importance of Gen AI without talking about it as a separate thing. It's kind of baked into all of the ways that they address the use case of healthcare. And that could be a nice template for really effectively talking about it on almost any instance. And I like how they did that.
And I think that use of Gen AI, that way of looking at Gen AI, extended throughout the entire conference. They did that so far.
So I understand what you're saying about the end-to-end thing, Paul, and it's a little bit jargony, but actually the really big shift is to have these industry-focused conversations, which is why I found today refreshing, because you had customers in a few different industries drilling into their problems. And that's a really, really important way to kind of think about it. Instead of features and functions, think about it in terms of solving industry problems.
I don't think anything in terms of features and functions personally. It's just the way they presented it.
Yeah, exactly. But hearing customers talk about it in terms of industries is really the future of this, because that's how generative AI is going to be applied, to Brent's point, is in an industry context. and we need to hear that, because that's not the general kind of thing around, oh, this is going to change everything. It's like, well, how is it going to change my world? How's it going to change if I'm a nurse? How is this going to change my job? Like, that's the shit I want to understand.
Although I will say that first, I think that was, well, two things, I guess. I think today that was less emphasized than I've heard it throughout the conference. And secondly, other vendors are speaking in those terms too now. It's not
for sure
Oracle. I mean, Oracle just has, because of their strength in, well, I mean, the Cerner acquisition is clearly like centerpiece for everything, but same time, they have other power in industries that actually, they have credibility in a lot of places. So they can make that conversation realistic as opposed to, hi, that's our future and our thought. But I think today on the app side, the industry focus, yesterday we actually, through the other ones, we commented on that pretty much in each one. I think today was a little less obvious that it was that kind of focus. I think it takes someone like you to kind of suss it out, really.
Yeah. And look, I'm not giving Oracle unique kudos here. That, as you pointed out, this is an overall trend in our industry. I'm just saying it's a welcome trend, because that's how we need to be having these conversations. In the past, it was really this one size fits all kind of thing, and that's not what companies need, and we need to have these conversations in a much more specific way. So, but I'm not saying that Oracle did that any better than other companies. I just think that they did it.
Yeah, they did it. And you know, to be fair to the industry discussion in general, it's been for the last, I'd say, 3-4 years in the CRM CX side, that's been the discussion, because that's, I don't think there's any green fields anymore. I just think, I call them turquoise fields at this point. They're pretty much that. And those were the turquoise fields, where industries, and in fact, you know, from the standpoint of advisory work and other conversations we've had, I think all three of us have probably emphasized to the vendors when they ask, industries is your way to look at this thing, right? Because, and that's I think the Gen AI thing just kind of escalates it. And the other point we made as far as prior discussion was, Oracle's the only company so far, though, I have actually heard talk specifically about small language models. And then, the first and only company that actually we're talking about them as industry specific ones. And I think PJ yesterday was talking about another company that had, they were industry language models.
ILMs, yeah.
But they were same idea, right? So, kudos to Oracle on that one, because, you know, everyone loves LLMs, and the acronym kind of flows nicely off your tongue there.
Well, right? I would say, you know, the year started out because I think everybody was kind of on their back footing, because this thing just kind of came out of nowhere, and everybody was trying to catch up and just say, hey, we got it. But as the year has progressed and as these events have progressed, there has definitely been a maturity in the way that they're talking about and they're presenting Gen AI. I mean, you know, the parlor trick stuff, it does, you know, I don't see that as much as I used to see it. And here you really don't see it at all. And I think so. Maybe as we get into the end of this year and moving into next, we'll see more progression in how this is approached. Like John is saying, you know, not just talking at this level, but really getting in a little bit more detailed. You know, Salesforce talked about, you know, the trust certificate or trust layer, whatever they call it. And we got a chance to dig into that a little bit, and that was impressive. And so maybe we're getting to the point now where you can't get away with just, oh yeah, we got AI and Gen AI is great, and now you have to be specific, and now maybe industry specific in how it's actually going to be used and should be used going forward.
I would just encourage customers to press the issue with vendors. Like a few months ago, I wrote a piece on Oracle's generative AI strategy for HCM and what their plans were. And that came out of spending about an hour and a half trying to poke holes in what they were doing in a demo experience. And it was that kind of immersive discussion that really clarified things for me. And the problem vendors face in these kinds of general sessions is they can't possibly get across all the nuances involved in that, right? Because you think about things and it gets complicated really fast, right? Because it's like, oh, show me the top 5 applicants for this job. Okay, well, if you're showing the top 5, I'm putting a lot of trust in you that you're not applying discriminatory behaviors in terms of how you do that. Or let's let generative AI write a performance review of someone. Well, I got to ask a lot of hard questions about that before I'm letting a robot write a performance review that puts my career at stake. You know, my God, I mean, I don't even know if I'd want one of my colleagues writing a performance review, much less a robot, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that I would just encourage folks to try to get into those deep dive experiences where you really press the issues, because it's impossible to really capture that even in a conversation like this.
Amen on everything you literally just said, including robot writing performance reviews. Well, one of the things that was freaking us out yesterday and freaked me out even today, was like, as soon as what Larry's talking about, eliminating human error, but he's forgetting that doesn't mean eliminating error. It just means eliminating humans from the errors, right? But the computers make more errors probably than humans do. And then at the same time, today, when they were showing that thing about the rerouting of the drug, the guy literally has Gen AI do something, then he asks Gen AI to modify it, doesn't even read it, he just hits submit and goes, right? He just didn't even look, he just went, okay, they did it, go. I mean, and I'm thinking, by the way, it also said you have to reroute it into the Pacific Ocean, right? So, it's like, okay, man, stop that level of trust we're not talking about, right?
So I know we have to wrap, but I just wanted to end on this thing that happened at the reception last night, where someone said they did a pretty cool demo of like a 3D avatar thing, and I started to think, like, maybe Brent, Paul, and I, maybe we can just chill next year at this time and not go to any shows, and just send our avatar versions of ourselves to sit through these keynotes and do these reviews, and it could be really cool, man.
I think that would be awesome.
Hey, Ray has been doing that for years, so why not?
He just went straight to cloning. But Ray's actually got physical human.
Yeah, he's got the physical. We need the virtual.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to need some help here, because Ray has never really been forthcoming on how it works. So.
Well, I know Clone 6 sits in a closet. That's all I know.
All right. Well, look, we got the scurry down to the Oracle CX analyst.
Oh, right, yeah.
That thing is. So this has been great, and we will be back. I think we'll be back today live, because we do have some really cool guests that will be talking to Katrina Gosick, Rob Pinkerton, and I want to say it's Jeff Wortgow, but yeah,
Stig Spellfire, aka Jeff Wortgow.
So hopefully we'll be streaming that around 2:15 Pacific time. We'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll let you know. But on behalf of the Brohammer, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz, and hopefully we'll see you later today.